Hello and welcome to Talk Truth. My name is Corey Huntsberger. I have my father, Alan Huntsberger, in the studio. We're going to start off with our foundational verse. Dad likes to say it's a declaration. I call it our land acknowledgement. It's the oldest one in the book, everybody. Everybody's doing it. The earth and everything in it, the world and its inhabitants, belong to the Lord. He's the creator of those mountains and the ocean and the beautiful lakes that we enjoy. He laid the foundation on the seas, established it on the rivers, Psalm 24, 1 and 2. But I know, Dad, you want to get into a little more depth of what that verse means, right?
Yeah, because, we agree with it 1,000%. And so I've tried to link it up with other passages of scripture that I come along in my daily biblical reading. And one of them is Acts chapter 17, verse 25, and then verse 28. And basically, life is not self-generated. Acts 17 confronts one of the strongest assumptions of modern life, the belief that we are self-made. Paul says this: God gives everyone life, breath, and everything. That statement removes the illusion of independence. Life is not self-generated. You did not create it, you did not initiate it, and you do not sustain it. And then Paul presses even deeper and he says, in him we live and move and have our being. That means existence itself is dependent. Every breath you take is borrowed. Every heartbeat continues by permission. Every moment of awareness exists because God's will it to continue. We may feel independent, but Scripture says we are entirely dependent. Living in truth begins when we stop pretending otherwise. Modern culture teaches self-ownership, self-definition, self-determination, but Scripture teaches stewardship. We do not own your life. You are entrusted with it. The truth humbles us if we allow it to, because if life comes from God, then life's answers come from God. We didn't give ourselves breath this morning. We didn't command our hearts to keep beating. We didn't authorize our own existence. God did. And that reality changes how we live. When life is treated as a possession, we demand rights. But when life is recognized as a gift, we respond with gratitude. Entitlement fades, pride weakens. Dependence becomes honest. Living the truth means saying, Lord, my life is not my own. It belongs to you because it came from you. Life is not self-generated. It is sustained by God moment by moment.
Wow. That's a great reminder. With cold and flu season here, access to the right health products is essential. That's why this episode is brought to you by Freedom Health. They believe your health decisions should be yours. Go to freedomhealth.is and use our promo code TRUTH15 to receive $15 off your order today. I'm excited about our guest. He's done this. This gentleman has done some amazing things with his life. We've got the leader of the People's Party of Canada, Maxime Bernier, on the show. Maxime, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm very pleased to be with you today. And, I'm always enjoying that discussion.
Well, excited to have you on. We have so many questions asked. There's so many angles. But I really specifically wanted you to come on the show to talk about this Alberta sovereignty thing that's happening right now. A lot of conversation in the news, a lot of things being said. There's a lot of anger as well out there. People being called traitors. Is it treasonous what Alberta is doing? You have Quebec, obviously. They've been through this as well. I'm seeing some differences I'd like to talk to you about. But first, I wanted to ask you what your thoughts are on it. I know in the past you have said yes towards it. You kind of supported it. Are you still there? Can you tell us a little bit about what you're at, where you're at?
Well, thank you for asking the question, because it is a very important question. And you're right by saying, the mainstream media is starting to speak about that. For example, this week, former Prime Minister Harper said that, we must combat the forces that are trying to destroy our union, our country. And I tweeted on X about that, and I said, no, we must listen to them. And he said at the same time in that same speech that Canadians must be ready to make some sacrifice to be sure to keep this country alive. No, it's not Canadians who must make do some sacrifice. It is the establishment politicians. They must sacrifice their power that they have in Ottawa that is unconstitutional. So that being said, going on the referendum that may happen in Alberta, I said, yes, Albertans have real grievance, real concern about the state of our nation. And I understand why, there's starting by the equalization. I've been speaking about equalization for the last 7 years. I said that it's unfair formula. Equalization payments are unfair to every province. And our proposal is to change that formula and to cut by at least half the equalization payments. As you know, last year, the federal government gave $26 billion to provinces on equalization. And Alberta is the province that always, since 1965, gave money in that formula. Albertan never received any penny since 1965. So that must change. The formula must change. We must be less generous and cutting that by at least half, so saving $13 billion. So Albertans are fed up because they know. I like that expression. Somebody told me that when I was in Alberta, and he was right. He said, Maxime, the real difference with our separatist movement here and your separatist movement in Quebec, I said, okay, tell me, what is the difference? He said, the difference in Quebec, you voted yes in 1995 at 49% because your heart is with your Quebec provincial government to keep your culture. But your reason is with the federal government because you received a lot of money from the federal government, and you know that if you're independent, you may have to pay a cost. So here in Alberta, he said, our heart is with Canada. We believe that we are Canadians. You believe that you're most Quebecers, but, our head and our, pockets are with Alberta. We know that it would be more profitable for us to leave that confederation because everything that the Trudeau government did, and also the Conservative, we, the federal government, interfere in provincial jurisdictions in healthcare, like a dental care program, daycare program, pharma care program. It is all under provincial jurisdictions. You cannot exploit your natural resources. You cannot build pipelines. So you understand that, you'll be more successful by being independent. So that's the big difference. But what I'm telling Albertans during, I believe you'll have a referendum this fall, I said, the only way to be taken seriously by Poilievre or Carney is to vote yes. Look, Quebecers voted yes at 49% more than 30 years ago. And all the promises that the Federalists and Ottawa did to Quebecers, that they will change, they won't interfere in provincial jurisdictions, they will give more autonomy to Quebec and other provinces, nothing happened. It was the contrary. Now you have a big fat government, federal government that is interfering everywhere. And so it is worse. So if Albertans who want to be taken seriously, they have to vote yes, and the more support for the yes, maybe that will bring a constitutional crisis, and now the Conservatives in Ottawa will stop to take your vote for granted like they did all the time. And so my first preference is to keep that country. But because these mainstream establishment politicians don't listen to Quebecers and to Albertans, that's why we need to do that referendum and having a decision that will be strong. But I believe after a yes in Alberta, Albertans will have three choices. The first one will be to go back at the table with Ottawa and negotiate a new deal in line with our constitution, because the federal government does not respect the 1867 constitution. He just have to do that, and we will be able to have a united country. So that would be the first option. The second one is to be independent. And the third one is to be the 51st state. But for me, I hope it will be the first one that will win. And I know that it is risky, but that's the only way just listen to Harper. He said that the problem is Canadians and separatists in Alberta and separatists in Quebec. They are not the problem. They want a real solution. And at the same time, you have some separatists in Alberta who went to Washington to try to have the support of Washington. And here in the mainstream media in Canada, they're saying they don't have the right to do that. It's treason. But listen, in Quebec in 1995 and during that referendum, yes, the Quebec government did a trip to Paris and to Washington, because you know what? To be an independent country, you need to have international recognition. So yes, you will start that and speak to other countries and telling them, if we have a yes, this is what we will do. I hope that you'll recognize our new country, and that will give the power and the ability to be at the table with Ottawa and tell Ottawa enough is enough. We have a new deal based on the constitution that we had in 1967 that you don't respect, or we are leaving. Listen, we have the support of the US, we have the support of France, we are serious. So just to finish on that, when that electoral campaign for the referendum will start maybe this fall in Alberta, I will be the only federalist leader that will be out there and tell them, yes, vote yes, take that chance. And, that's the only way for Ottawa to listen. And speaking about that, just in Quebec, you may know that we will have a provincial election this fall in October. The PQ, the Independentist provincial political party, is in advance by about 10 points in the polls. I believe that the PQ will win the election, and the young, charismatic leader of the PQ is saying that if you vote for the PQ, you vote for a referendum on the independence in my first mandate. So we may have another referendum. So if Carney, Polyev, and Harper are serious to keep this country, they just have to act and, acknowledge that there's problems because of the federal government that is a centralized government that is telling every provinces what they can do or what they cannot do.
Okay, I got two things. I'm going to let Alan jump in. One, about the 51st state thing. I want to be clear from everyone we've talked to, that is off the table. That's not going to happen. Lamestream media continues to hit that, to scare people. That's not going to happen. Two, I would say what you guys did, smart. I love what you said. Go to if you want to be recognized as your own country, your own sovereignty, you've got to have support from other countries. And I would say it's no difference than what Mark Carney does, go to China and do new strategic partnerships. So it's okay for him to go to China and talk to them. I think it's okay for the sovereignty group to go over to the US and create new strategic partnerships, in order for finding the support that they would need, just like Carney is going to China asking for the support that Canada would need because of what they're doing with the relationship with the U.S. That's a whole nother conversation we can talk about. I think it's disgusting. I don't know where you're at on that, but I just wanted to say this real quick before I throw to Alan. So what you're saying, you kind of align with Danielle Smith's vision when she says an independent Alberta within a united Canada. Is that kind of where you're at as well?
Yes and no. First, I want to answer the 51st state. You're right about that. Being the 51st state for Alberta, it is, changing a big government in Ottawa that is tell you what to do with another big government in Washington.
Right. We don't want that.
And I agree with you. So, and about Danielle Smith, an independent Alberta, I must say, an Alberta where the federal government will respect the Constitution and the autonomy of Albertan.
Yeah.
But, and that's why she's very wise. That's why she's saying, I will be neutral in that referendum. So she wants to listen to her people, and that's great. But this country will be united if Alberta is okay being in Canada, if the federal government respect everything, the Constitution, and letting Alberta and Quebec do what they want to do. But after a referendum, if you have a yes, that would be a real discussion. But everything that Alberta will have more autonomy from Ottawa. It will be good for Quebec. It will be good for New Brunswick. It will be the same deal for every province. Every province wants to be respected. So yeah, I believe in a united country, but a united country not with a centralist federal government that is telling everybody what to do without respecting the Constitution. And if the cost to be independent for you is to leave the country because Ottawa is not listening, that will be the cost.
Yeah. Alan?
Well, my great-grandfather came up here from Pennsylvania, and he homesteaded the land in which our farmed for over 100 years in Alberta. And when those homesteaders first came up to homestead the land, they began to realize that the land was filled with oil and minerals and was rich with that. And the government came along and convinced most of the homesteaders to relinquish the mineral rights of that land to the government so that it would benefit all of Albertans, not just, those that had the oil on their land and others that didn't have oil on their land and other minerals. And the problem is, my great-grandfather would roll over in his grave if he realized that we were giving $60 billion to Canada. Meanwhile, we as Alberta have billions of dollars in debt and can't afford, hospitals, new hospitals, can't afford the things that we need here in Alberta. So I do not think that voting for Alberta to be independent is like so that we have a bargaining tool to sit down with Ottawa. No. It's like, no, that wouldn't be my intention. And I don't think it's the intention of most people that we talk to. Their intention is no, we have had it. We have tried to be a part of Canada for decades. We have wanted to be a part of the decisions that's going on for decades, and it's been no. No equalization in the Senate, no equalization in even talking about lately, our premier is asking, about our judges. No, Carney says, no, you can't do that. It's like, no, we're done, Mr. Carney, we're done. So you have to realize that the reason why we have such a long lineup is like the trucker convoy. People are done, and we're going to handle this in a peaceful way, but we're done. And I hope and pray that that's what happens when we do finally get the referendum vote.
You have the right, and I understand everything, because you're looking at Quebec, for example. We have our own police force. You don't, and you want.
Correct.
We have our own pension fund, and you don't, and you want. We have more power on the selection of our immigrants, and you don't have that. So there's asymmetry there. The federation is like a little bit more autonomy for Quebec and less autonomy for other provinces. That's unfair. So that's why, yes, if you have a strong yes, when I'm saying strong, 51%, if you have a strong yes, you'll have every card. And you're right about saying enough is enough. I remember, back in the time, you were saying out west, the West wants to be in. And now that's the opposite. The West wants to be out. And you have Harper and Poliev, who spoke in the big convention that he did in Calgary. And he said, the independence, it's just because young people cannot afford to buy a house, and it's very difficult for them to have their first job. But that's not why, you're fed up because it's people like you, older Albertans, who saw that for how many decades, starting by Pierre Elliott Trudeau's father and the National Energy Program. You have a good memory and you remember all that, and you're the leader of that movement, and you're saying enough is enough. I understand that. And yes, but I will be with you. And if the federal government is not giving you what you want, do what you have to do. And if you don't want to have any negotiation with Ottawa after a yes, that will be your choice.
Yeah.
I think you bring up some great points. It's so funny when Quebec was, separating and all that stuff, the nation would say, Quebec, don't leave. We love you. We love you. Stay. Now Alberta's talking about their sovereignty, and it's death threats. It's calling us names. It's traitors. It's, sewer rats, all these kinds of horrific names. We're getting all this hate. And really, I want people to focus on, it's not only about the money and the mineral rights and everything that Alan was talking about. We are in an abusive relationship with Ottawa. And I don't think it's just Alberta. I think there's other provinces as well in this country that are getting a raw deal as well. We are in an abusive relationship. You want proof of that? Look how they're reacting to us. It's nothing but anger, hate. It's death threats. It's like, this is the abuse that people are tired of. And you said it right, Maxime. There was a time we said, include us, include us, include us. We've already reached out with that olive branch 1,000,000 times. And it's like, what else do you have to do? And I know you kind of understand it. Quebec, I love how you guys have set up. Hopefully one day Alberta can get that way too. You brought up about the Conservative Party, the convention that just happened. Poliev got 87.4% approval rating. What were your thoughts when you watched what was going on at that convention?
But first, there's no surprise over there. Poliev was able to have a big majority, and congratulations for him for that. I must say that people who voted, that was delegates, the rules for the Conservative Party of Canada for a leadership review is every riding is picking 10 people that will go to the convention and vote. So Poliev, I believe, knew in advance that these people who came to the convention mostly were supporting of him. And that's great. He had 87% of the vote. But I must say that in my party, in the People's Party of Canada, after every election, we are doing a leadership review. I'm asking all our members, every member of the People's Party, to vote and say, do you want Bernier to stay the leader, yes or no? It's not a couple of members, it's all the members, and I had 79% at the last leadership review. So that being said, congratulations for him for the leadership review. What I didn't like in that convention, because it is a kind of a fake democracy. They're telling their members, come here, vote resolution, vote new proposal, and having fun with that. But at the end, it is the leader that will decide the platform for the next campaign. He's not, how these proposals are not mandatory for him to listen to, and he will build his own platform based on survey and focus group. So it's all fake democracy. And what we saw, all these members who said to the MPs, conservative MPs, what you did a couple of years ago on the bill C4, the bill, as you may know, that is for the transitioning of kids For me, there's no transition. A boy is a boy, a girl is a girl, and a kid, is never born in a wrong body. But the conservative and the parliament unanimously voted for pushing the transition of kids who suffer dysphoria. So, and they had the chance to change that and vote to support the kids and ending that mutilation of kids in Canada, and they said no. So they said no because they had pressure from the establishment of the party. And so that's the real Conservative Party of Canada. They don't have the courage to tackle the real issues like equalization, like, ending that mutilation of kids, like speaking about a real government in Ottawa that will have a radical decentralization, because that is, if you want unity, you need a smaller government in Ottawa that won't spend money on healthcare because it's a provincial jurisdiction, that will be smaller and will be able to reduce taxes, and provinces will have more autonomy in line with the Constitution. But no, for the Conservative, Poilievre, during the last campaign, was saying yes to all these federal programs in provincial jurisdictions, like I said in the beginning, dental care, pharma care, and daycare. That's provincial jurisdictions. So for me, nothing new there. Poilievre is acting like Carney, and he said, I'm ready to work with you, Mr. Carney, for, building a stronger country. So it's telling me that it's a LibCon party.
Wow. Well, Maxime, we're out of time. I really appreciate you. I'm grateful that you come on this show and speak your thoughts. It allows people to get to know a little more about you. We really appreciate you. We'll definitely have you back, especially if there's a new election going to be called here shortly. We'll definitely have you back. Thank you, sir.
I appreciate for your time. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.
Great conversation. I love the accent. In fact, I love all my Quebec viewers that watch the show, that call in and they write to us. They got that French accent. Don't you love it, Dad?
Yeah, of course.
He made a lot of sense. Smaller government. That's the point, everybody. Smaller government. We got to get the federal big monster out of our borders and go smaller, because it's just, they're making a mess. And by the way, Carney's actually helping the movement by the way they're treating the U.S., right? Don't you agree how he's treating Trump?
Yeah, I mean, he's not making much sense, and definitely not making much sense for Albertans.
Yeah, for sure. Giving away a free booklet. It's called Living in Truth. Lots of gold in there in 2 verses. That's it. It's a devotional study on 1 Peter chapter 1 and 2. Get it before it's gone. We're already working on the 2nd volume of this. So you definitely want to get this one first. You're going to find out that you are chosen. You can go to our website, gotalktruth.com/resources. Click on resources, fill out the form. We'll send one to you in the mail, absolutely free. Do the reflection questions. You're going to learn a lot. If you want to help support our mission, keep this kind of conversation and truth on the air, we are viewer supported. We don't take government funds or special interest groups. It's just because of the generosity of those that watch this show and say, hey, I love what you guys are doing. I support you. You can do it online at gotalktruth.com/donate, or you can do it through the mail. You can send it to Talk Truth at 246 Stewart Green Southwest, Suite 3260, Calgary, Alberta, T3H3C8. All right, Dad, we're out of time. We'll see you guys later.
Love you.